Hi, welcome to Abundant Acres. I'm Kenny, this is Angie, and today she's making meatballs.
Not just any meatballs, I'm making my secret recipe meatballs. And this is for our Christmas dinner collaboration. Okay, so to get started, I just put the oven on broil, so get that preheated. Yeah, we're just gonna get right into it.
What do you want me to do to help?
If you can put the aluminum foil on the pan.
Yep, I can do that.
Makes it for easy cleanup. We've got, it's just a regular pan. Like that deep. It's not like a super deep pan. But anyways, easier to clean up to just put the aluminum foil in there. Okay, so we have the pan lined. That just makes it for easier cleanup, and we're just gonna go ahead and get started on the meatballs. It's kind of like a two-part recipe because we gotta make the meatballs, and then we also have to make the sauce. So we're gonna start by making the meatballs.
Let me chop up an onion.
Yeah. And he is chopping up a medium onion. Chop it up really, really fine. I don't want it big and chunky. Makes it harder to roll the meatballs. Okay, and I just added 2 pounds of ground beef. And I'm going to be adding 1 pound of ground turkey. My favorite way to make this is with venison, but Kenny was hurt this year, so he wasn't able to go hunting. But if you have venison, use venison instead, because it really does make it a whole lot better, because venison is just able to grab a hold of any kind of flavor that you put into it, and it just holds on to it a whole lot better. But the second best thing is ground turkey. So if you don't have venison, or if you don't like venison, which would just be weird. But I know there's some people that aren't venison people. You can use the ground turkey.
Bambi's good eating.
Okay, so most of the time when I cook, I don't even have a recipe to go by. I just go by taste. But with this one, I actually have a recipe. There's a few things I have recipes for, and my meatballs is one of them. So I will be able to tell you exactly how much I'm putting in. You don't actually have to mix it as soon as you put it in. I like to mix it now just because I think it's harder the more stuff you add to get the ground beef and the the turkey to kind of mix up. So I like to pre-mix that just to make sure that it's all mixed up really good. So, okay, anyway. Next up is 2 eggs.
Fresh from the chicken lot.
And then the recipe calls for 1.5 teaspoons of salt, but we're not salt people, so I leave the salt out of it. But yeah, if you like salt, put it in. And the main reason I do it is because, well, you're gonna see that I add celery salt to it. So for us, if we add the salt and the celery salt, it's just a little bit too much for us. But we're also those weird people that think McDonald's fries are salty. So that kind of tells you the kind of people that we are. Okay, next. I'm putting in Italian seasoning.
I reckon he's in there off the road.
Yeah. And we're gonna put the whole medium onion in here as we go. Okay, so for the Italian seasoning, we are going to do 1 teaspoon. Getting a little low on that. Three-quarter teaspoon of black pepper. And 3 teaspoons of celery salt. once he gets done with the onions, that's it. We're just gonna mix it all up.
I'm telling y'all, you need to try these meatballs because these meatballs are good. Whoever you make them for, they'll be asking you to bring them back.
Okay, and I just mix it up really good. If you want a little bit more of a moisture,
Sorry.
if you want a little bit more of a moisture meatball, you can also add half a cup of milk into it. But we're just gonna go with this. So the size of the meatballs really just depends on how big a hurry you're in. The bigger the meatballs, obviously the longer cook time it is. The smaller the meatballs, the quicker it goes. This is the size that I normally do. The smaller the meatball, the further it goes because, I don't know, it just does. It's the same amount of meat, but if you make smaller meatballs, it's like everybody will only grab like 5 or 6 of them. So if you have 5 or 6 of the smaller ones, it just kind of lasts a little bit better or a little bit longer. Now, these are going to make quite a bit because obviously we're not fixing this for actual family dinner. This is just for me and Kenny. So there's going to be quite a few meatballs. And you can throw these in the freezer. If you didn't want to make I would make the whole batch anyway and go ahead and cook the meatballs. And then you can just throw the meatballs actually in the freezer. And then you can just make the sauce later on if you wanted. But what I like to do is go ahead and cook it all together. And then I will throw the meatballs in the freezer and you can pop them out and take as many as you want. It makes good for if you forgot to take anything out for dinner or if you're in a hurry. And they also make excellent meatball sandwiches. Throw some cheese on there, especially like mozzarella cheese. Throw it in the oven. Good meatball sandwich. I can tell you this meatball recipe doesn't taste like most of the other family meatballs that you take or have tasted at family dinners or the kitchen dinners. I know a lot of people will use like regular meatballs and then they'll do like the grape jelly kind of thing, whatever. We're not using grape jelly and it tastes absolutely nothing like those. Those are good though.
Yeah, they're good.
But
these are better.
So this actually is a secret family recipe. I got it from a friend of mine's mom, and she was actually married to Kenny's, is he cousin? Yeah, cousin. And she took it to one of his family get-togethers, and I tell you what, it was just like, she almost didn't even give me the recipe because she was afraid if I had the recipe that that would be like not her thing to bring anymore, because obviously if you have this recipe and everybody tastes it, this is what they want you to bring. So here I am sharing the recipe, and the only other person that I have shared this recipe with is my sister-in-law. And the only reason she got the recipe was because they were out of town one holiday, and this is obviously one of my family's favorites. And they were out of town for the holiday, and they wanted my meatballs. So I was nice enough, and I gave her the recipe.
For $30.
So consider you guys yourselves blessed that you're getting this recipe.
Right. Shh, don't tell nobody.
Yeah, don't tell anybody. This is a family recipe, so let's just keep it in the family, all right?
That's right. Just for you, and that's it.
Just our YouTube family. Don't be going and spreading it out everywhere. But I can almost guarantee you, if your family likes meatballs, and you make these for a family dinner or a pitch-in, I can almost guarantee they are going to ask you to make these again.
Yep.
Or they're going to want the recipe. And remember, it's a secret, so you can't tell them.
Nope. She's absolutely right. I don't think we've ever had meatballs that taste better than these.
They definitely have their own flavor. And I think the big thing, I think the big flavor in there that makes this taste so much different than the others is the celery salt.
And I think the other thing, it's kind of like everything, you know, like chilies and stuff like that. When you heat these up again,
they just get better.
They just keep getting better.
Well, that's it for the meatballs. So we're gonna go ahead, put these in the oven, and then we'll get started on the second part, which is the sauce. Okay, now those are gonna stay in the oven until they're brown. It takes, I don't know, probably about 12 to 15 minutes, and about halfway through, we're gonna go ahead and flip them. So yeah, but let us get all of this cleaned up and then we'll be back for the sauce. Okay, so next up, we're gonna make the sauce. And this time, I think we're gonna switch.
No.
I'm gonna have you actually combine all the meat ingredients, and I'm just gonna chop the onion.
Okay.
Well, I figure it's about time you start adding to the dinner.
I got all kinds of stuff I can add to the dinner. I'll show you what I'm making for dinner.
You got a menu?
I got a menu.
Okay, what's your menu?
What's that? Here. Here's what I can make. Instant lunch. 3 minutes of hot water. Put this in there. Let it set for 3 minutes. Hot and spicy chicken noodles. Very good. But I'm going to pass on these tonight so I can have some of these meatballs. All right. 1 whole small bottle of ketchup.
And I'll go ahead and give you a fair warning. When you make the sauce up and after it's all mixed up and made, you're going to look at it, and as you put the meatballs in, you're going to be thinking there's not enough sauce. But trust me, there is.
If anybody asks, it's a 24-ounce bottle. 1 medium onion, which she's cutting up right now. 1 tablespoon of thyme.
No, I don't do I see the stars right there.
Mm-hmm.
We like it better. Instead of doing all of those, we just do 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning.
Okay.
And if you want to know what the original recipe was, it is 1 teaspoon of thyme, 1 teaspoon of clover, and 2 bay leaves. But I've experimented obviously a little bit with the original recipe. Whew. I'm gonna be crying like a baby.
1 tablespoon of garlic.
Because obviously, if you don't put garlic in it, are you even really cooking? Timer went off. It's time for us to flip the meatballs.
Okay. She's getting the meatballs out, and I missed an ingredient.
An important ingredient.
Celery salt. 1 tablespoon of celery salt. Start cleaning up, putting everything away, and I was like, I don't think I put that in. She goes, oh, you got to put that in there. I want them to come out good.
Okay,
All good.
we're ready to put the meatballs in. And I don't bother draining them, letting them cool or anything like that. I just take them right from the pan, put them right into the crock pot.
You can see how those Meatballs just cover up all the sauce. There it goes.
And I'm just gonna put the lid on, turn it on high, make sure that I plug it in. Have any of you guys ever done that? Actually start dinner, or you think you're cooking dinner and then come back and find out that you either forgot to turn it on or forgot to plug it in. It's embarrassing how many times I've done that. Okay, so we got the meatballs going in the crock pot, and we're gonna let them go on high for about an hour and a half, and they'll be ready to roll. If you had like the smaller meatballs, they'd probably be done in about an hour. And then obviously if you double the recipe, which I do suggest, especially if you've got a bigger family, double the recipe, and I would say probably about 2 hours they would be done. Or if you wanted, you could do this early in the morning and then set it on low and then just let it cook all day.
And don't forget about our Christmas cooking collaboration. If you make a video, if you make your special dish, we'll put it in our playlist.
Just make sure that you put hashtag Christmas dinner either in your title, description, or both, so that it's easy for us to find, so that we can make sure that it gets into the playlist so that we can share the recipes with everybody.
All right, this is Kenny and Angie from Abundant Acres. Have a great day.
Merry Christmas!